I would like you to meet Andy and his mother Ann. Andy is a young man who clearly demonstrates his visual strengths. His behavior demonstrates how valuable visual tools are to him. The good news is Mom understands. She understands the value of using visual supports, and she's done a phenomenal job of using them with her son. I had an opportunity to talk with Ann about her experience using visual strategies with Andy. I want to share some of that visit with you.
One of the ways we use the visuals is to alleviate anxiety. And in some instances, I almost set that up for him. We usually, when we go to the mall, we used to go into the same place all the time, and then he became used to that. Well, I want him to understand that he has to accept change and that change occurs. And so I kind of set that up and help him work his way through it. So we went into the mall at a different location, and I could feel the anxiety in him the minute we walked in the door. It was like, she changed everything. I don't know where I'm at. I know there's videos here someplace, but I don't know what direction to go to get to them. And I can feel all this in him. And I do this ahead of time. I know in myself that, you know, I'm going to have to work through this with him. So you have to be real patient. You have to know going in that this is what you're going for. Well, it so happened I thought that there were videos in the bookstore on the top level. I didn't even want to go to the bottom level. And there were no videos in that bookstore. And so now I'm standing in the bookstore wondering, how am I going to prevent a meltdown? Because he didn't get what we originally came for, which was videos. And I took out my Blockbuster card out of my purse and handed it to him and said, there are no videos here, but we can go to Blockbuster. And he immediately relaxed and was like, okay, I know I'm getting videos at some point, so you can do whatever you want with me now. And we walked out of the store, no meltdowns, no tantrums, no nothing.
It saved the day.
Yeah, and it went to, and sometimes you just got to kind of be creative. And that visual changes his mind immediately. It just gives him something to focus on, because at that point he's too anxious to listen to me verbally. It just doesn't get in.
So you can say something to him, and it doesn't.
Right, like one time when normally after church, which is very trying for him because it's a regular classroom, we come home, he gets to kick his shoes off, he gets to relax, he goes to the TV, he gets to do his video thing. Well, this particular time, we were going to my mother-in-law's, to Grandma's, and and so he's stripping his clothes off, and I'm trying to tell him, no, we have to leave, and I'm fighting with him, and he's getting mad, and I'm getting mad, and I stop. I said, okay, wait. So I went and got a picture of Grandma's house, and I handed it to him, and it was like, oh, why didn't you say so? And then he couldn't get his clothes on fast enough and out the door. So it just quickly changes his agenda, because he gets too anxious or too set in what his agenda is for me to verbally get it in. So the visuals help with that tremendously.
Great.
Where I use these, this attaches in the car. It actually faces him. I tie it on the back of the seat in front of him. And I started with putting the strip, and I would put in, you know, what we were going to go do that day. And it got to the point where he would pull out. When he would pull it out, I would do it immediately. Whatever it was that we would go. I would drop whatever I'm doing, because I want him to know that that is effective. And so now we're to the point where I can say, no, we have to do that later. Or we'll put it on the schedule later, or I'll maybe even say, you know, I'll put it on the calendar. We can't do this day, but we can do it tomorrow. So that, and he doesn't tantrum that way. That way he knows eventually he'll get to go. If it's there, he knows he gets to do it. So he doesn't have to tantrum as if he wasn't going to get to do it, or I didn't understand what he wanted.
And what you have here are the park.
I take different pictures of different parks. There's more parks. So that if he wants to, I tell him, we're going to go to the park, and let him make a choice of which park he'd like to go to.
Okay.
This is from a magazine, and I just slip it inside a baseball cover, which you can buy at any sports store, to protect it, so that I don't have to keep doing it. But you know, sometimes I'll mix them. We're going to shop at Toys R Us versus shopping at Farmer Jack's or So he understands logos. I think most kids know logos very, very quickly. Because we're all visual.
So these logos work really well.
The logos work very well. Okay. And if it's something new, I'll show him when we get there. Look, and I'll point to where their logo is so that he makes the connection of this picture with that logo in that place.
Great. And what has your experience been using social stories?
I find social stories help Andrew to understand what is expected of him in a given situation. When we go out into the community, like Target or Myers, I will lay out in very simple terms what I expect to happen in that store, such as Mama takes her turn first, Mama has to do her shopping, Andy will then, if he is a good boy, gets to look at videos, Andy will hold my hand, Andy will use a quiet voice, just simple things like that, very simple statements. And it is very effective in getting him to cooperate and behave in a store. I also use them to help with behaviors at home, such as when I would go out, he would cry every time I would leave. That's really hard to handle. So I wrote a simple social story. It has the pictures and words. Andrew does read, and I believe the pictures, because they are paired with words, has helped him to do that. And it's just a simple story that I usually title Mom Goes Out. Sometimes Mom has to go out, and there's a picture of Mom. When Mom goes out, Mom leaves Andy at home. There's a picture of a smiling Andy and a home. Andy will be a big boy and not cry. Again, a smiling picture of Andy and a no crying picture. Mom will come home to Andy soon. And then there's a picture of Mom and Andy and home. And it was very effective. I used it maybe 2 or 3 times, and he stopped. I didn't have to use it after that. So, and that's usually what happens with social stories for him. I can use it 1 or 2 times, and he gets the message, and that's it. We move on. So,
that's great.
Another example of a story that we used was Andrew was having to go to 2 different programs within a day. So he was at 2 different schools. And in order to make that transition easier, and so that he would understand where he was going to be at any given point during the day, I took photographs of each school and made a story for him that would tell him, like, after Andy eats lunch, Andy will play on the playground. After playtime, Mom will come and take him home. And it gave him a visual and something to gauge when his day would end. He knew that after playtime, then I would be there, and he would expectantly be waiting for me, and then I would take him home. And then at some point in the year, it stopped where I was picking him up and the bus was picking him up. So I then rewrote it again so that he would know with his picture with the bus that when school is all done, Andy will ride the bus to home. And it was very effective in helping him transition. We never had a single problem with him transitioning from one program to another, or transitioning from my coming to get him versus him riding the bus home. So it was very effective.
Andy.
Andy. Tell me. Andy.
Toilet.
Toilet. Andy will walk to the toilet. Andy will pull his pants and underwear down. Andy will sit down on the toilet. Andy will go BM in the toilet. Andy will use toilet paper to clean up.
Andy.
Mom will help Andy. Let's read one more page. One more page. Andy will pull up his underwear and pants. Andy will flush the toilet. Andy will wash hands. Andy will dry hands. Yay! Good job, Andy. What a big boy Andy is. Andy will get a reward. Say yay! Andrew has at school what they call news from home. It's kind of like a show and tell, but you don't bring in toys. You have to stand up there and say what you did the night before. Well, Andy can't do that, but I still want him to be able to participate with the other children and participate in circle time. So what I do is take a photograph of something that Andrew has done the night before. Like this one example is he's reading Dr. Seuss's One Fish, Two Fish. And I then write out a sentence that pertains to that, and Andy and I will go over it that night. This one we did the fish and he colored them to match the book. So he could get up there, he can show this to the class, and even if his articulation of that sentence isn't very exact, the kids know what he's talking about. And they can say, oh, you know, I have that book, or Andy reads that book. Or I said, so it just gives him a way to be included, and the kids to accept him just as they do with each other. So it has been a good tool for that as well.
That's great.
He likes food. Food is highly motivating. And McDonald's especially at the time. And I had taken a picture of the generic picture for McDonald's, and I paired it with the McDonald's that we go to all the time. And I would take him there every day. I would show him the card and take him to McDonald's so that he would make the connection, this card means we're going to this place.
And you did that every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Because I want, it's not the healthiest thing, but sometimes you have to make choices. And I wanted him to what was most motivating and to make the connection. And he did. So he made the connection that this card means we get to go to McDonald's. And then our next lesson with that was that I wanted him to make a choice. You can get these menus at McDonald's. You have to ask for them, but you can get them from there for visual. I wanted him to make a choice. I never knew, do you like chicken nuggets? Do you like hamburgers? So it was always just whatever I gave him. And I would work every day. Again, this was an every day. Do you want chicken nuggets? Do you want hamburgers? And he would never tell me. And then one day at school, his teacher said, you know, he's not eating his lunch anymore. Oh, why should he? Mom takes him to McDonald's every day. So I said, okay, we'll stop the McDonald's lessons for a while. And we get in the car and he hands me the picture and he says, McDonald's. I said, I'm sorry, bud. They said you're not eating lunch, so we're going to have to stop the McDonald's for a while. And he just looked at me and he grabbed this picture and he said, hamburger. And I said, okay, we're going to McDonald's. You know, but it's like it took me so long, and sometimes I think he's much smarter than I am. He's like, he was saving it.
Tell me how you got started using some of the visual tools with Andy.
I had to find items that were highly motivating for him to get the concept. And so I used the computer, which is very highly, that's one of his joys. And the guitar. My husband plays the guitar, and Andrew loves to listen to it. And anytime he would go to the computer, I would take the picture and say, do you want to play on the computer? And we would walk over to the computer, and the picture would sit there by it so that he connected.
You paired the two together.
Right, so that he would connect. When the guitar is put away all the time, it never is out like the computer. So I would take the picture of the guitar out and say, do you want to play, you want to hear Daddy play guitar? And we would go and get the guitar with the picture and take him to Daddy. Eventually, he would take the picture to Daddy. I didn't have to prompt him through all that. He would take the picture to Daddy and say, oh, let's go get the guitar, and he would come and sit. So it gave him the concept of what the pictures were for. And sometimes, if I didn't have a picture of something or for food, I just cut the labels off of whatever it is. Like he loves mandarin oranges, berry cherry. I just simply...
So the labels from the products work really well too.
Yeah, you just cut them out, and you know, sometimes you go through a lot of them, but that's okay. I believe the visuals, especially since I pair the words with the pictures, has helped Andy to read, actually. And it has helped promote language, because sometimes it's just that he can't pull the word that he needs out. And that visual paired with that word will give that to him. I can show them the visual of a pool and he'll say, pool. It's like, oh, that's the word I'm looking for.
So the visual tools actually help him.
I believe it's promote his language, yes. I believe it has helped to promote language for him. He sure communicates fluently with those pictures. And that's really what I want. I want to know him as a person, as far as does he like hamburgers or does he like chicken nuggets? Does he want to go to this park or this park? And that has allowed me to do that with him. I'm knowing him as a person. It's alleviating his anxiety. It's giving him choices, and he communicates. And I believe that's why he's done so well.